Hello, gentlemen. Welcome back. It's Confidently Wrong. We just had our Game
Hey,
Awards.
Wes.
Not our Game Awards, sorry, our 2024 Confidently Wrong Awards, which was quite a bit of fun. So hopefully you went and listened to that show last week. If not, make sure that you check it out.
Speaking of Gamer Awards, Astrobot won Game of the Year.
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
I didn't play it yet, but I do want to see it, or I want to play it. So I believe it. It's kind of fun. It's cute.
I want to play it, but I don't want to play it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Honestly, Brian,
I'll pick it up on sale.
Honestly, Brian, you are the person in this chat who should probably play it most because it's a very just simple.
Yeah, but I would rather play a Mario game. You know what I mean? It's like them trying to do Mario, but I'd rather just play Mario.
Well, I don't know. I heard they use the haptic control stuff really well, but I don't know. Maybe when it's on sale, I think that'd be a good
on sale.
I think you would
for sure.
What's the right price? $39.99?
$30?
Like, maybe $20.
$29? Oh, $20. Oh, you're waiting. Okay,
don't hold.
That's like 3 years.
Yeah, you got some time.
That's waiting for a Game of the Year collection, right? Or re-release.
Yeah, I wouldn't hold my breath. I want to wait for a Black Friday sale.
I'm not holding my breath.
All right, let's get into it. We're gonna start with, what did we say we're gonna start with?
Marvel Rivals.
Marvel Rivals. All right, so we're gonna start with Marvel Rivals, and then we'll get into what we're loving. Marvel Rivals had an open beta a few months ago that only a few people got to play, but Tyler got into it. Savon, did you play too?
Oh yeah, I was all up in that thing.
And so both of you kind of selling it and being like, "Hey, it's really fun, it's good," and then you were excited for when it was actually going to release to the public, which it did. December came out, and spoiler alert, I mentioned it last show. It made me switch away from Apex, so it's been quite engaging and fun and a blast. Surprise on this one, we got Brian to actually check it out. He went and played it.
I was excited for it even before we talked about it. Because it's a Marvel game. I want to play Marvel games. I'm always curious.
Play it with us so we can like carry you and insulate you from the toxicity.
I should play it with you guys so you can insulate me from myself, because I am terrible at this thing.
It's okay.
There are characters you could play even with like bad aim or bad like reflexes and stuff. So I think there's something in it for everyone.
Shall we give a recap of what this game is?
Yeah, absolutely.
That don't know.
Yeah, you want to do
there's no recap needed. It's Overwatch.
Okay. People don't know what Overwatch is, though. So,
all right, if you don't know what Overwatch is,
Marvel Rivals. So Marvel Rivals for our friends at home who've probably just seen it promoted everywhere because it's being pushed very hard right now, understandably. It's a 6v6 hero shooter. For folks who don't know what hero shooters are, this is the genre of game where you play as a list of pre-made characters who all have unique abilities and functions. So no one plays quite the same. And then usually in these games, there are roles too. So characters specialize in certain types of roles to make a balanced team. So you have your Vanguard, your tank, the big body, the shield, meant to kind of take space. Your DPS, the person whose job it is to deal damage. And your strategist, the person whose job it is to heal and kind of provide support, miscellaneous stuff. It's a cast of 33 characters, all Marvel characters, ranging from big names like Captain America, Iron Man, the Hulk, Spider-Man, to more niche characters like Luna Snow, Jeff the Land Shark,
Squirrel Girl,
so lesser known. So
yeah,
they're
Cloak
pulling
and Dagger.
from Cloak and Dagger. So they're pulling from a big bag of the really big Marvel IP bag. So the big names, niche names, and then the general gist of the game is that it's 6v6. You pick your characters and your team, and then you play various objective-based modes. Some of it is push the payload. Some of it is capture the point domination style. And
that's it.
To Wes's point, similar to not just Overwatch, but like Team Fortress 2 and there's other games before Overwatch, same deal. But it's if you've played Overwatch, it is very, very similar, minus this game being third person.
And it's easier for me to
damage per second. So characters whose job it is to just pump out damage and hurt people.
They're the main. Those the shooters. GPS. They do a lot of pew 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 pew.
Yeah,
or punchies.
Your job is to kill people.
Killers.
So yeah, 6v6 classic. A lot of modes you've seen. They have some unique features like team ups where characters, regardless of class, can combine their powers in unique ways. So like Venom can boost characters like Spider-Man.
And
the Hulk can throw Wolverine at people.
Spider Zero.
There's some pretty cool unique power interactions too to let you really get creative.
Yeah. Oh, he boosts Penny Parker. I just named all the Spider characters, but Penny Parker.
Her. So yeah, that's a general overview of the game for folks who aren't very familiar with it.
Yeah, I think that the thing that is different from Overwatch is the team ups. So like you have sort of kind of cool abilities that come up. One of the ones that we were using the most early on was like Rocket Raccoon gives
unlimited ammo.
Yeah, unlimited ammo to a couple of different characters, to Bucky or to Punisher. And so that's really helpful for those characters. They become a lot more dangerous when you get that. But because you're not always playing with friends or somebody who wants to play that character, right? You don't always get those team ups. And so you got to learn to like play without it and also to play with it. But it can make some of those interactions like really amazing. I think the Mantis Adam Warlock team up is a little bit not broken, but it's pretty nasty because you can get automatic like revives for Mantis, like once every minute, I think, or something, or once every minute and a half.
90 seconds.
And then and just the amount of healing those two can put out at one time is pretty incredible. So keeps your team alive.
Yeah, so I want to talk a little bit about the some of like, okay, we talked about the gameplay, but what are some of the other things around this game that I think, because to be clear, this game has been massively popular. It's had like, I think on Steam, it had like over 500,000 like concurrent players at the same time. It's retaining its player base since its release this past month. The new season came out yesterday.
They haven't had a ton of server issues.
No.
Props to them.
So here's some things that I know just from reading about the game, what I've seen, that I think why this game has been so popular. One, Wes, to your point, a lot of games, especially when they're international PvP games, can struggle to have good servers in places like the Middle East and Africa, where it can be a lot harder to play. This game had a great server situation. Even right when the game came out, Tyler was in South Africa and was still able to connect to servers. And even though we still lagged, like there are other games where you can't. It is way harder, especially for a game that freshly came out. A few days later, we're playing across the world pretty half decent. So the infrastructure that they set up for the volume of players is amazing. Even the game itself, right, Wes, they save like the last 20 matches you played, and it gives you a full breakdown of every POV perspective, so you can really deep dive into your matches of folks who want to get better.
Yeah, you can replay that shit like it's NFL film.
Yeah, like you can really, and you can look at your friends' last 20 games and break down.
How do they save all of these games?
Yeah, but I don't know, but that's just like, but that's a testament to, man, this is Disney behind this, right? They really put a lot of the tech infrastructure needed for this game to support the insane amount of players it has. Second of all, it's free to play, so you don't have to pay a penny to get it, which obviously I know folks have mixed feelings about free to play model, but I love it because it's easy to get a group of friends into something with no upfront pay-in. It's hard to get your friends to buy a game if you're not sure if it's going to be good or not. Hey, Wes, spend $65 on this game that you may or may not like.
Yeah,
that's a really hard sell to. Hey, this game doesn't cost a penny. Every character, and it's a big cast. They launched with like 33 characters. Everyone is unlocked off the bounce, so it's no having to unlock. Other games like Multiversus or even Overwatch at one point release new characters. They're free to play, but you have to unlock or buy certain characters. I think a game that's selling itself on a fun cast of characters of people who already you're familiar with don't want to load it up and not be able to play who they want. You don't want to see Spider-Man Hulk and then you boot up the game for free and you're like, oh, I have to grind or pay for Spider-Man Hulk, right? Even if the game itself is free. So very accessible. Even the battle pass system, I think, is very generous, where once you buy it, you can complete it at your own leisure, even if the season ends. The battle pass for $10 has a lot of just good skins. So granted, none of this stuff adds to the gameplay, but this is the game you're not paying diddly squat for, with a fully realized cast and a very, I think, West strong art direction. Even the skins we have seen, even in terms of the currency, these games make
the visuals are cool though. I mean, like it's visually cool to look at. The worlds are the maps are cool. The characters like have cool like looks to them.
Yeah, it's clear that a lot of care went into just the making and designing of the game. But the big thing is, right, these games are free. They make their money off selling skins, but
they're
expensive.
Would say they're like $25 or something.
But that's pretty much all these free to play games. That's like pretty standard course.
Did you guys pay? You pay up for those skins?
No.
I got a skin in the battle pass because I've been playing this game nonstop, and that cost me probably $25. So $25 for a game that I put this much time. Yeah. 25 in the battle pass, but $25 for a game I put this much time into already, and I know I'm gonna be playing. Like, I don't mind supporting the game if it's something that I feel like, I paid full price for games that I was like, this is a waste of my money. So everyone's different. But even then, for games that do sell skins, the in-game currency while grindy, there's just little things that other similar games don't do, that if you do want to get your skins for free and not pay, it's a lot easier to get. And if you do get the battle pass, you get a lot of bang for your buck. So this game as a whole has really set up good infrastructure to really, I think, last a long time. The fact that it's Marvel, I think, already has a pre-baked in fan base, because you don't need to win people over on new characters like Concord tried to. You already know most of the people.
Wait, can I say something about the characters being known?
Yeah,
so
go for it.
I think I talked to you about this before, but I don't think I talked about it on the pod, that me, who is not like who was able to jump into the game like at the beginning and didn't really know what was going on, I had a really hard time in Overwatch understanding like who the hell you guys were talking about. You'd be like, it's Sumatra, it's so and so, it's Zergama
Girl Squad.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't know who you're talking about. And you're like, it's that person over there with the blah 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 and the blah blah blah, and I'd be like, oh, that person, okay. And by the time like that was relevant, it was already over, like whatever piece of information you were trying to relay. And so I wasn't able to like keep up because you guys had already been in this world. But like, because I know all these characters already, right, from either from Marvel Snap or from movies or whatever, when you guys make callouts and you're like, hey, there's a Spider-Man on our back line, I'm looking for Spider-Man. I know what he looks like, right? Or, they're like, oh, there's Thor. He's coming, like, beware of his blah, blah. It's like, okay, I know what Thor looks like, and I easily identify, like, who I should focus on and when I should focus on these things. And so that's been just a huge, actually, mental load off of, like, downloading of things that makes this game actually just a little bit easier and more accessible for someone like me who's not familiar with this game style, but is familiar with the characters. And so that's been actually really helpful for me, as someone who knows the Marvel characters but doesn't know how to play this game at all. I mean, not at all, but is learning how to play this game.
No, absolutely, that's a great point. And the established IP makes the accessibility a lot easier for folks, and I know that, and I say this as someone who's played, a lot of long running series, right? Like, I've been playing Tekken for decades. I've been playing Overwatch damn near since it came out. The biggest barrier to these games, to new folks playing, is that, dude, people have to catch up on years and years. Like, for Tekken and Street Fighter, right? You got to learn 30 years worth of just character matchups to even stand a chance. And that makes it fun when you decide to put in the work, but that makes the game really niche and hard to be accessible. You're right. Learning the details of the abilities is still a lot of work, but
yeah,
it's helpful when at least half the cast, you at least are familiar with who the character is.
Yeah.
You know who the Hulk is. You know the Hulk is big, green, and gonna beat your ass. You can at least be able to piece together,
get away,
hey man, Hulk running up on me, bet I know I need to compared to you're right, compared to Overwatch, where these are all unique characters. The only way you're gonna learn what they do is by playing the hell out of this game.
It's a pumpkin. I mean, that's
getting
like
your ass bust. Yeah, and it's
decades. Wait, there's no pumpkin in this. Is there a pumpkin?
No, but there's a character in Overwatch.
There was a pumpkin that showed up in the middle of Overwatch, and he was beating my ass too. And I was like, what?
But to your point, Wes, you're right. You wouldn't have known that was Wrecking Ball Hammond, the Rolling Ball Tank character, because you have no pre-knowledge or no background, so you have to just keep getting your ass bust by him until you learn, okay, that's who he is and what he does.
Yeah.
Which, that makes it harder for folks who maybe don't want to have a PhD in the game to fight. They just want to hop in and get busy.
Do not want a PhD. All right, Brian, as someone
brings me, I mean,
I want to hear what your experience is then, as someone who didn't play Overwatch and hasn't been playing a ton of shooter type games at all. What's been your experience?
Zero shooters, no shooters. FPS is like the scariest acronym in my vocabulary that I could think of. I definitely don't play player versus player games, right? Like Apex, none of that.
Maybe that's what it is. It's the player versus player. Because you'll do like Last of Us, where you do have to aim and shoot.
The last player versus player game I played was Last of Us 1, when they did have online play on the PS3. Maybe that's got to be way more than a decade ago. That's like 12 years ago or something like that. So yeah,
PS3, that's a minute.
I definitely do not wade in these waters which are not meant for me. There's just like way too much stimulus. But I will say,
it's not the reaction time stuff. It's the overwhelming information.
I mean, like part of it is you have to react to the stimuli.
Yeah,
and that's difficult when there's multiple points of like stimulation coming at you. Like, you're getting shot at from like 5 different directions. Like, what the hell are you supposed to do? I don't know.
Yeah.
Die. That's what I do. I die. But I will say, like I mentioned at the top, like any Marvel game I have an eye towards. I'm curious about a good Marvel game. I just want
Marvel
a good
curious.
Marvel game.
Yeah.
And so like this had definitely been on my radar and was something I was gonna try out. I was gonna try out no matter what. And I do love the fact that right off the bat you get to try out the entire roster of characters, and I'm very happy that it's not just MCU characters, right? And it actually, I think, goes out of its way to go beyond that. I mean, you mentioned Cloak and Dagger, just the fact that Cloak and Dagger, who two characters I've never read a comic book with them in them, but I've always been aware of Cloak and Dagger and just like how cool they look as a duo, as a tandem, and love that they're represented in this game. And so like that for me has been the thing that has made me jump in, like just trying out all the different characters. And then like you said, once I have thrust myself into the action, terribly so, I'm like, I'm always the worst player on my team whenever I've played. At least I can kind of like get a sense of like what's going on and be excited to see characters that I haven't seen out in the world yet. Like, oh, it's like, oh, okay, Moon Knight's over there and he's throwing the Ankh in the middle of the battlefield or whatever. And then
did you figure it out what the Ankh is for?
Adam Warlock is jumping into the fray. So it's just cool to, you know, see all your beloved childhood characters all in one place.
Absolutely.
Having a grand old time.
Nice.
And that's how I play the game.
Yeah. And everyone's fun to play,
You
though.
should
Like
play as
I know
Jeff then, because Jeff literally does that.
Yeah.
Oh, I definitely played
play.
the version where
Jeff's
it's like everybody's Jeff the Shark.
Oh my god, that winter event. Good
Played
god.
way too much of
You're
that.
just trying
That
to
was the
chomp
goofiest
each
shit.
other.
No, but the game does a great job of making everybody really fun to play. Like even characters that I don't like, I'm like, oh man, even if you're not an Iron Man fan, you can't pretend it's not fun to just have this dude flying around free form, just shooting missiles and shit. You know, I will
That
say this
chest
game
beam needs to be eliminated. Fuck that chest beam.
I'm not gonna do this to you on the podcast. Anyways, yeah, I'm glad that
So
you.
what?
I'm glad
What do you think is the lifespan of this game for you guys?
the game already has. I was checking some of the. You know, I'm not one of those. Player count is the end all be all, but like Steam has them as like over 500,000 people concurrently after the season came out, not including console. They've retained like 90% of their player base since launch, which is, you know, a lot of games fall off after that initial burst. And they've released like how they're going to do
90%, that seems high.
Yeah,
think
That
it's that
seems
high?
extremely high.
the game. Yeah, I mean, Wes, have you seen how instantly you get put into a game, bro?
Yeah, it's
my
fast.
finger isn't off.
They've got bot games in there
my
for sure.
finger. Yeah, I'm talking about for comp though. My finger isn't off the button yet, and we are loaded into like a match, and we in that thing. No, I think I think the Marvel IP and the built-in infrastructure means this game is going to have a really good lifespan. People like hero shooters, and people have been disappointed in Concord, which flopped on release, and Overwatch, which has been on the downswing. Marvel Rivals is like, there's a big opening in the hero shooter market, and Marvel Rivals took it over just based on how all of us have moved away from games that we've spent years playing. To your point, was as long as I play Apex. Apex still fun, but Rivals is refreshing and new, and I don't see any reason to stop playing it. So like, this game's gonna do well. They have leaned into the thirsty character models and skins because that makes money. I don't see this game going anywhere.
Yeah. I was just looking up who is CBR comic book something
Resource.
whatever. Yeah. They had an article that there might be a lot of AI bots in there to keep your matches going. Which
There's if you lose enough quick matches, there are sometimes you'll get bot matches, but I think they do that as more of a ego protection system of like, yo, people just keep getting their ass
I'm with
busted,
it.
Don't stop playing.
Yeah.
Some people
All right,
like that, some don't.
I want to do the last thing. Oh, go ahead, Brian.
I was just gonna say I'm excited that they're already releasing new characters. And they released half of the Fantastic Four, which is great. Love to see the Fantastic Four finally get back into Marvel stuff generally. So you got Mr. Fantastic, Invisible Woman. It'll be really cool once Human Torch and the Thing come out, and then
It's blubbering time.
and then it feels like that's going to be the cadence, right? Like every month or a couple months, new playable characters. What do you think?
Yeah, that's what they said. They said
Ooh,
basically
that's gonna
it's
be
like
a lot though.
It's gonna be like, I think they're doing 4 for this season, then they're gonna do like 2 characters a season.
As someone who plays Marvel Snap still, there's a lot of characters they still have on the table. I mean, Marvel Snap keeps coming out with new characters. I'm like, never heard of this person, never heard of that person. I have heard of that person. Can't believe they weren't in the game already, because there's over 400 characters, I think, in the game already in Marvel Snap. So it's a lot. It's a lot too. Maybe it's not 400.
There's
it's
tons of X-Men. There's villains. There's very few villains in Marvel Rivals.
Oh, that's true.
We're getting Ultron. We're getting Ultron and Blade later. That was like leaked and confirmed.
Yeah, so more villains. That's true. They need more. They have Gore right now. Who else is a villain? Hela's kind of a villain.
Definitely
Magneto, kind of, right, but kind of not. But yeah, mostly heroes, I guess, which is okay. Should be heroes. I don't know. Who wants to fight as the villain all the time? Maybe a lot of people.
There's a lot to choose from, and it'll be very cool to see them in video game playable form.
And they're not afraid to pull out these smaller characters like Squirrel Girl and make her kind of a cool one. But they did so negatives, I think, or things that are maybe like less good about the game. We can go over some of that. I think one of the things that it's kind of a double-edged sword of a lot of the characters feel like direct lifts from Overwatch 2, right? So Squirrel Girl, who we mentioned, has the slingshot, and she like shoots bounceable objects or grenades that explode. They're supposed to be acorns, but that's like there's a character exactly like that in Overwatch 2. I forget his name, Junkyard guy. Junkrat. And like having a character with like a big shield, right? That's like also from with a melee, that's also from Overwatch 2. And some of that is like those are character designs that work within this style of game, and you kind of need them to make the game playable and like balanced. So I get that it's like, well, let's not reinvent the wheel. If there's a character that works, a type of character that works, and we have, a character like Doctor Strange who can kind of fulfill that, like, let's make it happen. But I think that is a little bit of a criticism that I would have, is like some of this feels like, oh, they like just directly lifted an ability or a set of abilities from another character. And then the other thing that's maybe a little bit I haven't like enjoyed as much has been the way that you progress through ranked is really tricky. Because the game is so dependent on how your teammates play, I felt like I got stuck in like a certain rank, whereas like in Apex, I felt like I could advance, and then I got to a level where I felt like, okay, these players are better than me, right? Like I couldn't actually make it past that, and I felt good about that because I was like, yeah, this is about the edge of my ability. In Marvel Rivals, it feels more like sometimes I'm getting teammates that are like amazing, and in the ranked mode who are better than me, but sometimes I'm also playing against players that are like way better than me, and it's not like, oh, this is like a little bit of a skill difference. It's like, no, these guys are like clearly advanced. So I don't know. That's been one of my criticisms.
Excuses. You hear this, Brian? I'm basically just hearing I don't like losing in a 6v6 game. Sometimes it's like the NBA. Sometimes you on a team and your team ass, and guess what? Tough. But guess what? You on that team too. The logic I've always seen for the 6v6 thing is that you have out of your 6 slots, you take up 1. So you have there's 5 other slots that can be filled with a teammate who's awful.
That's me.
The other team has 6 slots that could be filled with somebody awful. So the needle mover is you.
Yeah, but in a ranked mode, you're expecting to play with people that are similar in abilities to you. Abilities
is relative though. How do you know somebody's not having an off game? How do you know someone just isn't getting cooked and it's like no fault of the rank system? How do you know someone it wasn't a close game?
But I'm not talking about one-off games where it's like, damn, that game was terrible.
Wes, I looked at some of your games
repeatedly, like, hey, like this is not working. Yeah,
Brian,
and
everybody else has been able to solo queue and advance through ranked.
But you've also played with me in games and been like, yeah, we just ran up against a Juggernaut team. Like, that's happened.
But there's stuff we can do better.
Of course. I'm not saying we're playing perfect games. I think I'm playing well enough to like support my team, play good enough to like make progress through the second level of ranked. There's still 5 or 6 more levels after silver, right? Like there's gold, and then I don't even know where it goes after that. But like,
I'm about to say it. I'm about to say it. You know I'm about to say it.
Yeah, but that's gonna piss me off. And it's just like no, but like Brian, like Brian should be able to get out of bronze.
Not if he asks.
I'm terrible.
You know,
I got a 0%
like,
accuracy the last game I played.
I think there should be some aspect of like, if you're consistently playing, you should advance a little bit. And like, you're not advancing at all because of things that are outside of your control sometimes, right? Like,
but aren't there always going to just be a ton of variables?
It's a 6v6 team shooter. You shouldn't get points just for playing the game. Like, you got to win.
Yeah, Wes, maybe that's not the right way of what I'm saying.
Wes, you can advance with a sub 50% win rate. You don't even need to win half your games to advance in a pot. Like, you can lose silver and lose 13 points and get 40 from a win. Because I was watching.
And you're not, and that's fine. But I'm like not advancing, right? Like, even with that, I'm not advancing, and it's not because I'm not playing the game right. Like, you see me play the game, I'm not playing bad. Do you know what I mean?
No, I don't.
What do you think I'm playing badly?
I think that there's always, Wes, when I'll be getting my ass bust, I look and say, what could I have done better? What move screwed me over? Oh, let me learn how that move works. Oh, I get how it works. Now I can prevent getting myself screwed over from it in the future. That too. Wes, we done talked about stuff where I'm like, yo, you got to learn the mechanics of how these other people moves work. Like, if you lost a fight because you didn't know how alt worked, that's 100% on you as a player to learn how to not let that happen again. Because this is one of them games where if you don't know what this audio cue means, you will lose the fight. Like, point blank, period. It was a fight me and Kendall lost, and I was like, hey, yo, B, we got to look at how this move works, because if we don't learn how it works, we're going to keep losing to it. We figured out the counterplay, and now we actively use it multiple times and have won fights. But, like, that's not matchmaking. That's not I got good or bad teammates. That's you as a player getting better at the game. And, like, yeah, man, Wes, respectfully, pimp, like, a bunch of people solo queue in advance. That means you got to figure out what you can do better. You can't control your teammate. You can control you. You gotta level up, player.
Thank you, Ime Udoka.
I'm saying, and it's not hard to rank up in rivals. You don't even have to win half your games to go positive. So, like, you could go 4 wins, 6 losses, and you will still progress.
Yeah. Okay.
I got you.
Missoula has spoken.
I help you out, but I'm not about to feed into this. I play more, so I should get points. I'm like, hold on, pimp. What is this? That's not how the new get down, baby.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with what you're saying, but I don't think I'm doing that. Like, I think I'm learning. I'm actively getting better, right? And I'm playing the role that the team needs me to play. Unless it's tank, because when I play tank, I'm not that good. But, like, if I can be a healer, like, I'll play healer, even if, like, that's not my favorite thing, and I'm doing tons of healing for my team, and you still got Joe Chucklehead over here, like, running off and dying, and then another Joe Chucklehead running off and dying. It's like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, you just actively sabotaging our team, and this happens over and over and over again, right? So, like, as much as you want to say, like, you can't control your teammates, if you're actively playing 4-on-6, you're gonna lose, right? Like, and that's happening all the time in the games that I'm playing. And so, I think that's the part where it's like hard. It's like in Apex, I had more control because I'm 1 of 3, right? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm 1 of 3 players, me playing well and helping the team, I can keep us going for a little bit. You know, even if the one of the teammates is weaker or whatever. But if I got 1 teammate or 2 teammates that are not playing well or not playing with the team, then, like, that's a loss. Like, it doesn't matter how well you play unless you're God level, right? I'm not God level. I'm not someone who's gonna get 50 kills every single game just because I'm like super skilled at like the aiming and playing or whatever. Like, I think that's all I'm saying is I think it's really hard to, like, have your results be so dependent on your teammates. That's all. So that's been my negative. Brian, you have any or Savon, you have any negatives or things that you wish the game would change?
No, I think the biggest issue with the game is just the player base. Sometimes it's just a game of chicken of hoping you get a balanced team. You know, you want to ideally have 2 people playing within each role. The biggest issue is I think folks just need to learn how to expand into multiple roles, and they don't want to do a role queue system where you're forced to fill roles in. So, but that's not really a flaw of the game. I think that's just more of how players interact with the game. Although I will say the biggest issue I have is that there's disproportionately way too many damage characters relative to other roles. You have like 17 DPS and then like 8
there's like
tanks and 7 healers.
Yeah.
8 tanks and 7 healers. So when you have more DPS than tanks and healers combined, that is the part where the devs, I think that's on y'all, man. No one wants to tank or heal, or really tank, but it's because have a limited cast and you gave the lion's share of the character slots to the role you knew people were going to flock to. So, but I think they're going to work to improve it down the line. So that'll be like hey, we'll see how Overwatch handled it. Let's see how y'all handle this in the coming year.
And maybe making the tanky characters more fun to play in some way will be nice. I don't know. Well, yeah, maybe they can work on it.
Well, then you get into a whole balancing thing because Overwatch had a similar thing.
Did you see, Brian, how he said, like, you just got to skill up, and then he said the problem is that people don't play the role they're supposed to play. So, just saying.
I stopped paying attention 10 minutes ago.
Thank you, Brian. Anyways, Brian.
Yeah, I'm not saying I don't need to level up. I definitely need to level up. But I think the way that the points are calculated are a little bit off. Like, if you're healing the shit out of your team, like, you should get points for that. I don't know. You're doing your role you're supposed to do. Like, you should get points for that. Like, you get points in Apex for kills, right? Like, and your wins, but you don't get points in this for, like, doing your job.
Professional victim, Wes.
No, that's not being a professional. You don't think you should be rewarded for doing your job?
You get rewarded for winning.
Yeah, but when you're so dependent on your teammates, that's not always an accurate.
Then be a better team.
That's like he said, be a better team when you have no control over your five teammates.
LeBron don't get the win. LeBron don't get the win because the Lakers suck. If the team suck, y'all need to get better. It's a team game.
But he gets paid. He gets paid because his stats are good, right? Like he did his job.
All right, then look,
that's what I'm saying.
Why don't you go lobby to NetEase and tell them, hey man, look, I want my rank points. I'm healing and not winning. I want my points, damn it.
Yeah.
Look, Brian, you can help him do a video, please.
You should get some points for, like, I don't say you should get as many as for winning, but you should get some points for doing your job.
So what are you loving, Wes?
This discussion is the exact reason why I don't play PvP games.
It's tricky, man. It's a hard game for sure.
I'm having a blast, Brian. We gotta get.
I'm also having a blast. We're
gonna get us some action in.
Yeah, Brian.
I won't blame you.
Oh, I'm so bad.
That's fine. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care.
To his credit, when Savon is not telling me I need to get better, he will coach me up, which is nice. So I'm sure he'll do the same for you, Brian.
Yeah, I'm just gonna run it with you. I don't care.
All right, let's get into what we're loving. We'll do it quick so we can get this show on the road. I think we'll set a timer for here, a little 15 minutes, and then try to be done here. All right, what we're loving. I forgot we got a drop from Duriel still that we'll use. So Brian, why don't you sing it for us, and then we'll put the real drop in.
What we're loving.
Ooh, it got a little Bon Jovi in there too. I like it. All right. Savon,
Jersey.
Yeah. Savon. Oh no, Brian, you said you checked out for 10 minutes. Brian, let's check you back in. Brian, what you're loving for the past couple weeks?
Yeah, bring us back to reality.
So many things that I am lukewarming on. What we're lukewarming.
Yeah, get this curmudgeon some happiness.
Apparently not, because apparently he still wants to lukewarm it.
I mean, it's when you get to my age, it's just so hard for something to wake you up.
His serotonin is just burned out.
Yeah, for real. But speaking of games, so like, I played a little bit of Marvel Rivals. In the last pod I talked about playing Zelda, whatever. There's this one game that has made it onto a lot of the best of lists for 2024. So usually it's like Astrobot is on there. What is it? Like Metaphor Fantasio is like another game that's on there, whatever. But there's this one indie game called Balatro, which is usually on all the best of lists as well. And crazy thing about this game, it's an indie game just created by one person, just
Balatro,
a single developer,
literally one person.
Yeah, I could be mistaken. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But from what I remember reading, it's just like one dude just developed this whole game. And it's basically a mobile game, right? It takes poker and flips it on its head and makes it a roguelite somehow. So it's a deck building roguelite game that uses poker. And so like when you're playing this, it's like you're now immersed in like a 1980s, 1990s arcade like fortune teller type thing, but it's poker. And so what happens is you're basically trying to beat new thresholds of poker, like you would in a roguelite. and essentially trying to tweak your deck and all your available cards so that you maximize the number of points that you can hit to meet the threshold of each one of those levels, right? So like you need to hit like 5,000 to beat level 3 or whatever. And the only way to do that is to manipulate your deck. And and as well as the points that you get from playing certain hands. So in a game of poker, right, there's a very regimented order of which hands are better than another, right? Like a full house is better than a 3 of a kind.
Yeah,
but
you have like
in
a value,
Balatro, you know, in between rounds, that's where you're using money that you've earned to manipulate the game and your deck. And so you're like buying other things that will change the value of those hands. So you could make it so that a high card becomes the most valuable hand in the game. So like you just like amp it up and amp up its value.
You
And
change
then
suite values, like suit values. You can change them between rounds for money.
yes. So basically, like
Ooh.
every hand has a base value of like the number of chips it's worth and a multiplier. And so you manipulate the game in between rounds to say like, okay, I want to increase the number of chips that a pair is worth, and I want to increase the multiplier value on it by buying certain cards. And then on top of that, you can buy cards that change the cards within your 52 card deck. So like, let's say you're chasing after flushes the whole game. So suddenly you buy cards that turn like as many cards as possible in your deck into spades so that you just have a whole spades deck. So then every round you're running, you're getting flushes. And then you're increasing the value of the flushes so that flushes are way more valuable than even say a royal flush. Just a regular all spades flush might be the most valuable thing. And then on top of that, you're buying Joker cards, which are kind of like high level cards that are always out on the table. And each Joker has like some different trick that it carries out. So it might say like, oh, anytime you play an ace, you get like 50 extra chips and like a +5 multiplier. Or you might have this crazy Joker that like just rolls a die and like you have a 1 in 4 chance of multiplying that multiplier by 10 or something. So suddenly like your points go from like 500 points per hand to suddenly you're scoring 50,000 points for a single hand of poker, and you're just like working to manipulate the game in your favor so that you maximize the points you score for every round of the game to meet higher and higher thresholds. And it's kind of just like one of these it's like one of these slot machine type games that just like gets
Ding,
all the
ding,
gears
ding, ding.
going, and like, you know, as soon as you score big, you're like, oh man, I've engineered
Oh
this
my
thing.
God.
I figured out the machine. You know, I'm like monstering this game, and then suddenly, you know, it's 5 a.m. and
So you know what it's like to be a retiree in
30
Atlantic
hands.
City.
Genius, right? He's
30
trying to get to
hands.
he's trying to get to like an old gambling old man who's just smoking his
Yo.
cigarette on
Hitting the slot machine over and over
He's like,
again.
you know what to do with like the little rolling chair thing, and he's going in like a circle.
That's right. You gotta figure out your routine
to get a
around the
rotation
machines.
going.
His oxygen
Exactly.
mask is on the back of the chair, like
Exactly.
hooked up.
And he got his little electric
Maybe
chair
another
too.
martini.
Wait, he got the oxygen mask and a cigarette.
Yes, he does.
Oh man, that's Brian. I love you.
That's a
in
good
your
game.
curmudgeon era.
This is a good game.
But
like
to
if
be
you're
clear-
into deck building, if you've ever played like Slay the Spire or anything like that, which is a fun game. This is kind of exactly that, but removes all the, you know, all the themes about like dungeon crawling and whatever, and just replaces it with pure numbers and poker hands, which is kind of its own delight.
Card players will probably love
yeah.
this kind of game because it probably feels less like a video game, more like just a new version of what they already know. Okay, so
Yeah.
5-card poker, but you're changing
Poker on
the sweet values between rounds in order to create new types of values to get big points and win.
Yes.
Do you play against a person, or do you like Marvel Snap, or do you like play against the game?
It's
That's
a roguelike,
huh?
yeah. So
that's PvE,
yeah.
right?
So it's everything is sort of just like
It's just like Candy
generated
Crush,
on
like
its
you
own.
pack-
It's like
you just-
new challenges just keep getting thrown in your way. So it's
Yeah.
I
like,
see.
Infinite
and
replay value.
you might get hamstrung, like as one of the challenges, like, oh, all the diamonds are worthless now in this particular
Okay.
Is there like it's like continuous, like you pick up where you left off, or is it like
No,
time
you got
sessions?
to
It's like
do
the
a
5
run,
minutes to do. Okay.
right? So I believe a run is like 24 levels basically, and so you're trying to complete all 24, right? Or get as far as you possibly can without busting.
Okay.
Which
And then you
is
start over.
basically like failing to meet the minimum threshold of points.
And so if you do that, then you start over.
Yeah, you start
Or
completely
you win the
over.
24.
Like you lose all your jokers, you lose whatever things you've done to your hand. You
can try a
lose
new
whatever you've
strategy.
done to the different hand values, whatever.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Nice, I like that.
All right. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think I need another mobile game. Still playing Marvel Snap. It's in a good place. There's like a not one meta right now that's dominating, so it's nice.
Glad that's still
Okay.
engaging you.
What you're loving, Savon, this week?
Yeah, so I kind of hinted at it when we were talking our stuff from our award show, but for me, I was a year late. Strategically, I knew that I was going to get this game, but I knew I wasn't going to get it on launch because at the time, God of War had me occupied. There was the Cyberpunk update. I had a lot of single player stuff that I was like, yo, I'm full on games right now. Naturally, my queue freed up, and there was a Black Friday sale this past November, so I finally bought Baldur's Gate 3, and I knew that I would love it because as y'all know on this podcast, I'm a big Dungeons and Dragons fan. I used to play tabletop back in the day, especially when I lived back in New Orleans. I had a few campaigns we did for a few years, so I knew I would like the game. The time was right. I had some free time and all the new capability to play. I downloaded it, and I haven't had a game engage me as hard as Baldur's Gate has in years. This was
Bold
a game
statement.
engaged me like that in years. And again, I read reviews. I knew some basic things, but it just took everything I loved about Dungeons and Dragons and just put it into a very easy, digestible format. Granted, it's still a lot, but you're not tracking it on paper yourself. Just the fact that the game already does a lot of the math for you made it just cool. I can turn my brain off but off at the same time. But the builds, the class diversity, the way in which you could make a build that could represent damn near anything, any fantasy character you want, it's damn near on the table. And so I knew those things about the game were going to be good. I think what's blown me away is one, the voice acting and mocap work. It's like playing a movie at times. When characters are having conversations, they really emote. People have sad faces. People cry. They sweat. The conversations and the voice acting work is some of the best I've seen in any video game ever, especially as a game where you have a huge party of characters who aren't going to all be interacting at the same time. But the sheer volume of interactions, conversations, comments they have to say, each character having their own morality system, and frankly having their own story that could be its own single player game. You know, for the record, you can make your own character, but you can play as the pre-existing cast who can join your party, but you could play them as a main character and they basically have their own individual campaign that you could do as well. So this is a game that you could play infinitely. But to give you an idea, I put a very, very large amount of time into the game these past 2 months. I finally finished the campaign. I don't think I've played a game this dense in my life before. I was doing everything I could get my hands on, and the game was taking absurdly long. And there were so many branching moments in the game that it's just the replay value is just through the roof. Characters who could have died in Act 1 were major movers in Act 3 at the finale. And I'm like, oh, dude, you could have died literally at the start of the game, and who knows how else this would have played out. But the big thing is it rewards creative thinking. Like if you are out the box thinker, Baldur's Gate will be your type of game. Because there is no right way, and maybe that might be something that doesn't engage folks. There's no right way to do it. There isn't you want to win the fight. Oh, if you want to win, do this. No, there's a bunch of ways you can do it. I've gotten missions done by literally interrogating corpses to learn about someone's weakness. You know, there have been situations where I see a corpse, it's someone who I killed. They have information that might be useful. My character has an amulet that can let me speak to dead. When you speak to dead, you can ask someone 5 questions, the corpse 5 questions, then they die. I killed him though, so he's not going to talk to the person who killed him. So
that was the thing in the Dungeons and Dragons movie, right?
Yeah,
where they talk to corpses.
Yeah, exactly. That's a thing, right? But in this case, I killed the guy, so he was like, "Yo, basically, f you. I'm not talking to the person who killed me." Luckily, I had a spell to change my appearance, so I make myself look like an entirely different person. Then cast a spell. Now the corpse wants to talk. The game gives you a bunch of different dialogue trees, but you can only ask them 5 questions. So you actually have to be smart about. Don't ask a question like, "Who are you?" when that's not relevant to what you need to know, right? So, and there were times where I figured out an enemy's hidden key that could let me sneak into a place because of a corpse that I interrogated that gave me that info. But I also could have just ran in and killed everybody if I wanted to. But you can also, you know, talk down somebody, knock them off a cliff to get a quick kill, but you miss out on good loot. Maybe you want to block a doorway with a crate so that when you get into a fight, they can't call for help. Maybe you do a spell that silences the room so that when you're blowing shit up, it doesn't alert nearby people. The game really does say, hey, man, if you can think about it, you could probably make it happen. I've destroyed bridges so that reinforcements couldn't come. So
wow.
just that like lateral thinking. So like, you know, I did my playthrough, but I also been playing through with Tony. And there have been times where me and her got to sit down and be like, all right, what's the game plan? We draw up a fire plan and it ends up working. Hey, let's lure them up to the rafters. And then let's use this spell so we can start knocking them down because they're strong and let gravity do the job. Or force them into a choke. And that shit works. We've had fights we lost because someone hit an alarm. And when we replayed it, we say, AOB. Before we even start fighting, somebody break that damn alarm. So and that's just for like one small portion of one sequence in Act 1. But it's a whole game full of that. And I've never had something feel this dense and high quality and fleshed out in all of my years of gaming. And I knew it would be that, but I didn't think it would live up to the hype so wholly. But this game is very much a 10 out of 10 for me. One of the greatest games I've ever touched in my life.
Wow.
Kind of close.
Well, one of the greatest games he's ever touched.
How does it dynamically create the final act of the game based on all those variable decisions?
They did a lot of effing work.
Like,
for one,
a
lot of characters
could have died early on, but then like they came back. Like, how does that even work?
There's the larger plot of the larger villain and like antagonistic force of what you're dealing with, but there's multiple ways you could approach that, including just straight up being evil. You can absolutely join the villains and try and go like a pure evil, take over everything route. So like, this isn't just you have to be the hero. You could absolutely be pure awful. But I think, Brian, to your question is, the main story has several ways it can. I mean, first of all, they just thought of everything. There are moments where I'm like, oh man, there's like at least 3 different paths I could take towards this finale. And some of these characters, again, I could have killed in the very beginning of the game. So I don't know how the hell the game would have made up for this person being dead when they're a key part to the ending in this version of my playthrough. Like, that's just them, frankly, doing a really well put together, well crafted story. Because you can do a villain playthrough where there's followers who you only get for being really, really evil. But I think the real strength is that there's the main plot, but all the characters still have their own side plots, and that can like be relevant to the plot, but not always to the main villain. Does that make sense? Because they have their own thing going on, but it might play a role in how their story ends after you've defeated the main villain. Like when I beat the game, that was when the consequences of me doing all my side characters' missions really kind of came to a head. So some characters get a happy ending. Some go off and do something, and that might be based on how you advance. Like one character, his dad was probably going to die. I managed to really do some hard shit to save his dad, and that results in him having a much happier ending. But it easily could have been a much more somber ending if his dad did die. Or he could have... Some characters' endings involve them being tormented in hell forever or going off to be a great hero. It just depends on how you did their storyline as you played through. So... But some of that doesn't always influence the ending, just their individual epilogue. So there's the main story and side stories in the intertwine. But it's like a book, man. That's what makes it so good. You're playing it, and in real time, you're like, Jesus, this character's back? So what would happen if she died? Would this have just been a whole nother thing? Like, you will ask yourself that. You will ask yourself that mid-game, wait, what? Like, because now I'm thinking, dang, what would I have done 100 hours ago, and how would that have played out now had I done this differently? But yeah, the big thing is that it's the ultimate wish fulfillment. Any character you think you can make them, and you can make them good. My character was basically Darth Sidious.
Yeah.
Mental powers, messing with people's heads, shooting lightning, but she was good. But her whole thing was just smooth talking people. Like I convinced a boss to kill herself.
Wow.
I was able to skip an entire phase of a boss fight because I was able to persuade them. Like, I was able to take advantage of my character's speech skills, and it was hard. Like, it's like one of those, you're still rolling the dice, but I was able to skip a whole boss fight sequence because I was able to talk someone down. Or I've convinced enemies to do things that would get themselves killed because I was really. But you could also just say, F that, I'm just going to beat your ass up if that's what your character's good at.
That's the character I would play.
But that's the beauty. It's like there is no right answer to how you can approach the game. It's whatever you can creatively get away with.
Nice.
I had a dude who we were trying to talk through a gate, and he said, all right, you want to get through? But they're goblins. You got to wipe shit on your face. And I'm with Tony, and we're like, oh, well, our characters aren't going to wipe shit on our face. We could have and gotten through without a fight, and we said, we're absolutely not. And we did.
Wait, so
and then we
couch
fought and killed him.
with Tony? How is this working?
Nothing. It's drop in, drop out. You make your own character. You're not bound to the other people in your party, so you could fully explore the world. It'll go split screen, but like we're not tethered to each other. So it's a very easy couch co-op game. Although it's D&D, so if someone's very slow at taking a turn, the game can like kind of grind to a halt like real D&D. But that's just like getting comfortable with the mechanics of the game.
So you guys play in the same location, or you have to be on separate accounts, like separate?
Same PlayStation. It's couch co-op.
Okay.
You can play
like
in the
split
same
screen.
And your characters will not split screen if they're in the same area. But
gotcha.
It's very intuitive.
Nice. Sounds fun.
Maybe if I ever go on sabbatical, I will definitely play this game.
You and your wife would probably enjoy it.
I bet we would.
The hard part is learning just some of the D&D mechanics. Because the advantage I had is that I knew how D&D works, so I was able to make a character who already was like something I had done, so it worked. I will say it's easy to screw your entire build up because D&D is really complicated, and you can pick shit that looks cool, and then you realize, wait, this isn't actually useful though.
Yeah,
that's the biggest con.
You just don't want to do random stuff.
Yeah, the biggest con is that D&D just has a big. The biggest con is that D&D just has a big learning curve to folks who've never played before, and like that can make it hard to. Might feel like, oh, I screwed my build up. But respecking is also very easy, so they don't just corner you into your playthrough of, oh, you messed up your build, oh, too bad.
Okay.
Good game though.
Well, maybe I'll check it out. I don't know. You kind of sold me on it.
I don't think
I would like it like off the bounce, but maybe if I stuck with it, I would enjoy it. You don't think I would like it?
I think it's it's one of those games where you need to really have an understanding of how your character's mechanics works if you want to win fights. Otherwise, the game's way harder because you're not using your full toolkit.
I see. Okay. All right, fair enough. Well, let me level up in Marvel Rivals since apparently you don't think I'm good. So
I didn't say that.
All right. My what we're loving this week is another sequel, sort of, or another established thing. I wanted to shout out Silo Season 2, which started. When did it start? Maybe about a month and a half ago, something like that. We're getting down to the last couple of episodes here.
You didn't watch the finale last night?
No, was it the finale? I thought they had like 3 more to go.
I believe it's the last episode. I'm not sure.
I thought there was
episode 9 last night.
Okay.
Maybe there's 10.
I thought there were 10, but maybe it's 9. Anyways, the show's been really fun. I think some people have been a little bit put off because in season 1 you focus on the one main silo and a bunch of characters in it. And there's one main character. Her name is Juliet, and she at the end of season 1. I hope this is not a spoiler because this was a year ago or so. She ends
huge spoiler.
She ends up leaving. Well, wait. Oh, you're not gonna watch it. Leaving the silo.
No.
Yeah. She's going to end up leaving. You would have started watching it already. And I gave you a chance to say, no, don't spoil it. So she leaves the silo. And what happens in season 2 is she's separate now. So there's kind of parts of the show that focus on her and being on her separateness. And then there's the part of the show that focuses on our remaining characters that were left in the silo. And so I think some people have not enjoyed that, like, the main character has been, they call it sidelined in a lot of criticisms, but I don't think it's that. I mean, she's doing her own thing and she's like trying to figure some certain things out in a new environment, which is kind of like the same environment, just like, falling apart.
Surprise, there are more silos. It's just
Yeah.
like Fallout.
Yeah, kind
Oh,
of, huh?
God.
And I've enjoyed that, like, they're slowly peeling back some of the layers, and they're leaving a lot of layers still uncovered in terms of like the mystery of why all this was created, who was behind it, what is the right move in terms of getting everybody to survive, because they've established that, like, if even though there's definitely like a subterfuge happening, right, or a conspiracy happening, that conspiracy might actually be the thing keeping people alive, because we've seen an instance where, like, people got the wool taken off of their eyes, like the scales fell off, and they revolted and rioted, and then every, like, 10,000s of people were killed because of their choices. And so I don't know. So the show is like kind of presents this like nice juxtaposition of we want to know the truth, and people should have freedom to make their own choices, but like if some people make their own choices, they're gonna fuck shit up for everybody in a way there's no control Z, like everybody just dies. So and we've been exploring that, I think, in season 2 quite a bit, and I don't know, I've still really enjoyed it. I've been locked in on every episode. I don't feel the need to pick up my phone during the episodes. So I don't know. Good show. I think.
Is it a hard lock-in show? Is it like one of them, like, hey, if you're watching this, you need to be paying attention to every... Is it kind of show if you miss a line of dialogue, you might have missed something key that will play attention to later? Or is it like there's some shows you can kind of not be fully... Like, I can't watch certain shows when I'm sleepy.
No. I definitely wouldn't watch this while you're sleepy. You're meant to pay attention to all the details, but I will say they are just spinning their wheels a lot in the show. Like, there are a lot of details, but in a way, the details don't matter because nothing really has happened in season 2.
I still enjoyed it.
How many seasons are they slated for it to be?
Well, so
is it like based off a book? How many seasons?
It is based off a book. It's a 3-book series, I think.
Okay. So like, there's a definitive, like, they're spinning their wheels, but it's so they know what they want to do with it.
Yeah, they're gonna do 4 seasons. They said.
Okay, so that's different, because if they're spinning their wheels with no end in sight, that's different than when they're spinning their wheels, but it's ultimately to build up to something. They know where they're going with it. All right.
It feels like a lot of nothing is happening.
Fair enough.
I don't think that's true.
How much Apple TV Plus costs? That's why I ain't watching.
I think it's like $7 a month. Something like
I guess.
It's not bad.
I just not eat ice cream for a little bit.
Yeah. I think it's worth checking out. Maybe when something else comes out on Apple TV and you just, you binge watch all of the Apple TV stuff all at once.
Yeah, that's my big thing, is I just need more reason. I just can't justify just having another streaming service without having.
I mean, there's some argument to be made that some of the Apple TV shows are really good. They don't put out a ton, right? And so it's kind of that Marvel argument, right? Do I want to just like put everything out like Netflix does, or do I want to like just hone in on a couple of shows? And they don't do that many shows and movies. But the ones they put out,
$7 a month.
Yeah, the ones they put out are
pretty good.
Yeah, I think they've hit on a lot of their shows as being good. So
I think it's just an access thing. It's just I have so many other streaming services. That's the only reason it's getting just waysided. That's just capacity. But
I think that's totally reasonable.
Silo sounds good. I'm reading, like, I was on Wikipedia reading. I'm like, oh shit, this sounds good. It's just,
I think that first episode is really good. I do think this one is maybe not as good as the first season, but I'm still enjoying it. I'm still not going to stop watching. So I haven't considered it. I've enjoyed it. I've tried to watch every episode like on the day or the day after it comes out. So
okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. That's it. That's our show. We talked about Marvel Rivals and how Wesley's bad at the game and Savon is a god level player. And
I never said that.
We also
he obviously is.
I never
With
said
a chain like that. You know
what I'm saying. I'm not a god. I'm not a god level player. I'm just saying,
man, smarter and better than I am at the game.
No, I'm just saying you be making excuses. You're better than that.
And then we talked about what we're loving, and then we're gonna try and rope Brian into playing some Marvel Rivals with us, which will be fun.
Oh yeah,
we'll let you know how it goes.
Oh my god, this is gonna be so humiliating.
I don't care. I won't flame you.
It won't be humiliating. You'll be fine.
I will carry us to victory.
You got 10 or 15 kills with one of your characters. You're fine. You're no better or worse than a lot of other players out there.
And I think I got like just as many deaths too.
As long as you're not just rolling your face on the as long as you're not rolling your face on a controller.
Yeah, you might have had bad healers too, right? Like healers make a lot of difference. So trust me,
somebody wasn't doing their job.
Brian, exactly. Marvel Rivals new rule number 1, Brian. It's never your fault. If you die, it's because of the healers.
Yep.
If you heal, it's because the people weren't doing enough damage. Yep. If you're tanking, it's because the people weren't killing and healing. There is zero introspection is needed.
You can get so angry in this game. It's so easy to get angry at other players on your own team. It's set up that way. It's so toxic.
Well, I mean, I guess we all get mad for different reasons.
Yeah.
But yes, I guess that is true. that we can agree on. I'm like, yeah, maybe the why is
plenty of that in life.
Yeah, it's a little too realistic that way. Why can't you drive straight in the fucking line or park in your parking lot?
Look, this shit. That's why I be solo queuing sometimes. I know you hate it. I be doing. I'm like, I just need to turn my brain off, play some music.
I like it. All right. That'll do it for us. We're out of here. I don't know what's coming up next for us. I think we're going to do a 2025 preview, or at least a spring preview, maybe summer preview. And then, I don't know what else. Do you guys know what else we want to talk about pretty soon?
Oh, we'll see. But folks back home, it's a new year. Lots of stuff is coming out. It's top
Send
of
us
the year.
some
So
mail.
what do you know? Like, what are you watching? What are you excited for? Are there any shows, new seasons, movies, sequels, anything coming out this year? Or just things you want us to talk about? Like, holler at us. We're always open. Things we want to rate, judge. But
yeah,
please, this is as much y'all's show as it is ours. Tell us what you want.
Captain America: Brave New World. That's going to be the first big movie that comes out. I think it comes in February. So that won't be too far away, but we won't talk. I don't think we're going to talk about that on next show. I think it won't quite be out before we record. So we'll let you know. But definitely a 2025 preview pod. Look forward to that. So no homework needed other than, listen. All right.
Homework is to listen.
See you later.
We
Bye.
could all do that.
Later.
Not people who are deaf. Come on, Brian. Gosh.
You're only half deaf. Don't try to claim that community as yours.
I wasn't trying to claim the community. I was just saying, you got to think about other people too.
Well, don't denigrate them either.
Yeah. All right. Later.
All right. Later.
Bye.